If you're a new tax pro or you're a tax pro who's been around and you're struggling to figure out how much to be charging for pricing, this video is for you. In it, we're going to talk about not only how to figure out how much to charge, but we're also going to talk about some of the pricing models and the ways that you can actually charge your clients. Let's get to it. Welcome to Tax Help for Tax Pros, where pros go to be in the know. All right, so what are some of the ways to figure out how much to charge? We're going to talk about 3 ways that you can figure out the price that's right for you. The first way is that you're going to take a market pulse, okay? And what does this mean? This means that you can do things like call around to other chains or other providers that are in your area, come up with a particular scenario, and ask them how much they charge you for that scenario, okay? So basically, it's secret shopping. You're going to go ahead, call in, say, hey, I'm a single taxpayer. I've got, a W-2 income. How much would you charge me for that? All right, you can also call some of the larger preparers in your same area, not just the chains, and you can also get a quote. And you can also do secret shopping by looking at the websites of the preparers that are also in your geographical area. So if we look at Wilson Rogers & Company, which is our main firm's website, and we look at how much we charge, you can see that there's a package price, and we charge either $530 for standard, or we charge $850 for the advanced package, and more on packages in a moment. The next way you can figure out how to charge is by using benchmark surveys. And we're going to look at 3 surveys. So the first one we're going to look at is the 2024 Ignition Survey. And that survey highlights that 36% of the firms that they surveyed making less than $250,000 in revenue charge less than $400, and 27% charge between $400 and $599. Now, that same survey shows that for those firms with revenues between $251,000 all the way up to $700,000, 34% charge between $400 and $599, and 20% charge between $600 and $799. Now, the next survey we're going to look at is the National Association of Tax Preparers, which we are members of, their survey. And their most recent survey was from 2023. All right. So in looking at that survey, we can see that the overall fee for a 1040 nationwide was $248, and those who charged by hour averaged $179. Now, personally, those are not my hourly rates. These are my hourly rates, and I'm sticking to it, okay? The next survey that we're gonna look at is the most recent Drake survey. As you've seen in other videos, we use Drake software. So for all of these surveys, if you can get them, the link is in the description of the video. So for example, the 2024 Ignition survey, you can sign up and they will send you that survey. The NATP survey, you have to be a member of NATP and then you can get that survey. And Drake, you have to be a Drake software user and you can sign up and you can get that survey. But for the Drake survey, the most recent Drake survey, we can see that the pricing showed an average fee nationwide to be $251 if you just had a 1040, $298 if you had a Schedule A, and $408 if it included a Schedule C. So on the low side, you could be in the $250 range all the way up to, $400 to $700 range. Now, the key thing to know about the surveys is that the numbers are going to vary a lot depending on who's being surveyed. So, for example, if you're looking at the Drake survey, if their users tend to be more rural, those prices are going to be a lot different than, say, like the Ignition survey if they are surveying firms from like New York, Chicago, and LA. The basic point is that you need to make sure that you kind of take this with a grain of salt, because doing tax returns here in the city of Chicago is a lot more expensive than in Kirksville, Missouri, where I went to school at. All right. The next thing that you can do is you can consult your peers or your peer networks, okay? Now, while you can't charge the same price as what your peers are doing, and you can't collude and, say, hey, what are you charging? I'm going to charge the same thing. That's called price fixing. What you can do is you can get a pulse from them. So you could say, hey, if I were going to have this package, or if I was going to charge for this type of return, does that seem reasonable? Does that seem high, low? Would you charge the same amount for that, or what would you charge? Okay. So basically they can give you some feedback. You can also do this in your peer groups, such as like, any Facebook groups or any online groups. You can ask like, hey, what is the going rate for, something like this? All right. And if you're looking for a like-minded group of tax professionals where you can level up your tax knowledge and your training, then consider joining us over at the Tax Pro Lounge. We have monthly group coaching calls, a monthly training topic, as well as a member-only courses like the YouTube Money Making Blueprint. Plus, you get access to a group of peers, many seasoned individuals, such as myself, that you can bounce questions off and you can interact with in our community group. So just head on over to taxhelpfortaxpros.com and click on the community tab, and that'll take you right there to learn more. Okay, so that's how to figure out how much to charge. Now we're going to talk about some of the ways that you can charge. So the first way is what is known as forms-based pricing. And basically, it's one of the simplest ways that you can charge for pricing. You go into your tax software and you put a price for every last single form that you've got. And looking at the 2014 pricing that we had set up, we can see that the base price of the return was $155. And then if you had a Schedule A, that added on like $75. I'm pretty sure we had a price for the state return too. So like I said, this forms-based pricing is fairly simple, and it was actually the way that we used to price prior to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2018, because that created more forms, more schedules, specifically schedule. It used to be schedules 1 through 6, now it's just schedules 1 through 3. So we kind of abandoned that and moved over to package pricing, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. But the pros of this method is basically it's fairly easy to set up, and it ensures that you charge, clear pricing across the board. It also makes estimates very easy because you can have a price sheet. You can just give that to your prospects and say, hey, this is about how much that you're going to end up paying. All right. The major con of this method is that it doesn't really allow a lot of flexibility if in terms of like upcharging. So say like, yeah, you can have a Schedule C and you say you're going to charge $75, but if it's like a $1 million Schedule C, like it's a lot more complex and I wouldn't be charging $75 for it. Next up, you can talk about hourly billing. Once again, my shirt is talking about the hourly billing, but it's fairly simple to set up. You just simply determine a rate that you want to make, and then you go ahead and you bill out that way. The pros are, once again, it's fairly easy to set up and to understand, and it helps make sure that you get compensated for all of the work and all the time that you do, including research time. That is a billable amount. The major con with this method is that it can become challenging for you to give estimates until you become proficient with understanding like how fast you work, complexity of returns, so that you can bill accordingly, in order to do that. But outside of that, it's another fairly straightforward method in terms of pricing. Now, the last method that we're going to talk about is package pricing. And package pricing is just that. You come up with a menu of packages. All right. And in 2023, we had standard, intermediate, and advanced, and they were priced at $250, $450, and $725. But as we move out of simple tax preparation due to AI and automation, and we foresee that that's going to go away, basically I'm saying like, I don't think that you're going to need a human to do a tax return in the next 5 years, at least a very simple return. But some of the more complex returns, yeah, you'll still need, a professional to assist with. We've moved our packages to now basically either a standard package or an advanced package. And for this year, they're priced at $530 and $850, as we mentioned earlier. So the main thing to know with package pricing is basically the more complex the return, the higher the package that you charge. And you can see on our pricing that $850 has a nice little plus sign. That means that we're not capped at charging $850. The more complex the return is, we're going to simply be able to upcharge it. So the key takeaways from this video are, 1, there are many ways to determine how much to charge or how much you should be charging. Benchmark surveys, price shopping, etc. And then there are many ways to charge: package pricing, forms-based pricing, hourly billing. And what you should do is use these as guidelines to help you determine how much you should charge. And my one piece of advice as an old timer is make sure that you do not charge too little when you are first starting out. Don't charge less than market rate, and definitely don't charge less than what your competitors are charging. It's tempting, I know. Say, hey, I'm going to charge low because I don't have as much experience, and I'm not as fast, etc. But at the end of the day, I want you to remember this, okay? You have value. As a tax pro, you are experienced, you have knowledge, you deliver a good product, and you treat your customers well. All that has value, and you should always know your value and charge your value. Now, if you're looking for the 6 ways to slay your first tax season, make sure you check out this video. And if you're looking for ways to get trained as a new tax pro, then make sure you check out this video. In it, my good friend Andy Frye over at Pronto Tax has a deal for all of our viewers to get a discount on their various training courses that they offer about tax prep. So make sure you check it out. Now, if you found value in this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, or you can say thanks by buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description of this video, and the extra coins that we get go towards helping us do things like buy gear and props. So, until next time, remember, tax help for tax pros, where pros go to be in the know.